Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte.
And we are here in the Berkshire Hills of Lenox and Stockbridge, Massachusetts, on the grounds of Tanglewood, where they are preparing for one of the biggest snapshots of what gets done on the grounds, Tanglewood on Parade.
Tanglewood on Parade dates back to 1940 when then BSO music director and Tanglewood founder Serge Koussevitzky organized an Allied Relief Fund benefit. In 1946, following World War II, the benefit was renamed Tanglewood on Parade, and it has become an annual celebration and a fundraiser to support the activities of the Tanglewood Music Center.
Tanglewood on Parade has remained a special day of music and festivities that highlights the best of the Berkshires and the best of the BSO. Today, from afternoon through the evening and in concerts big and small, all the Tanglewood ensembles will perform.
Activities for adults and kids alike will take place throughout the grounds, and the day ends with fireworks to cap off the celebrations. And we will speak with some of the magical musical folks who are making it all happen,
including Maestros Thomas Wilkins and Nazir McFadden,
concertmaster Nathan Cole, and senior director of patron experience Amy Aldrich.
And with us right now is principal flute for the BSO, Lorna McGhee. Lorna McGhee joined the BSO as principal flute at the start of the 24-25 season, succeeding longtime flutist?
We're going to ask about this.
Okay, great.
Flutist, flautist? Where do we go?
I am also going to ask if I'm saying Elizabeth Rao or Elizabeth Rowe. Rowe. I lost my place. Lorna was formerly with the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra.
She will perform for us right now, Move It, for solo flute by BSO composer chair Carlos Simon. It's a and then let's hear.
We won't tell you how long it is.
Yeah, we won't tell you how long it is.
We want you to hear it.
And a big thank you to Matthew Erickson from the BSO and Tanglewood here for helping us, give us all this information, for all this fantastic folks that are joining us today from Tanglewood on Parade. Let's hear Move It from the principal flautist for the BSO, Lorna McGhee. phenomenal. That is the principal flautist or flutist is what we're going to find out right now of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. Lorna McGhee. Lorna?
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
Oh my word. That was as rock and roll as flute has ever sounded.
I mean, I'm looking at the sheet music from behind, and there's just so many 16ths.
Yes.
Like, all the glissandos down. It's like, oh, that's impressive. That's a lot of bars.
It's quite busy, but it's a really exciting piece to play. And maybe to give it some context for your listeners, he wrote it during COVID. And so this idea of move it is all that pent-up frustration when we were in lockdown. And you just want to get out and move and just for life to flow again. So it's got all this wonderful energy that's just in a ball, just ready to go.
Oh, it sounds like it. And it really moves. For a piece for the flute, it has so much danceability to it. And the he we mentioned that wrote it is the BSO composer chair, Carlos Simon.
Yeah, a lot of percussive elements to it too, which is super cool. You've just finished your first season with the BSO. How did it go?
Oh, I've loved it. I mean, it's been intense, but it's been really great. It's been a wonderful, wonderful year. I'm so happy to be in the orchestra, and I've just really loved every minute. And we've had some exciting things like tours, and this is my first time at Tanglewood ever this summer.
Yeah.
I never came here as a student. I grew up in Scotland, and so this is all new for me, and it's spectacular.
What does the name Tanglewood or the BSO mean, coming from Scotland and came from another well-renowned symphony, the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra? Yeah. How large does BSO and Tanglewood loom in the psyche of a Scottish flautist?
It looms large. I mean, Boston Symphony has such a history, and it has such deep roots, and the contribution to the world of music over the decades has been enormous when you think of some of the commissioned pieces that are now standard repertoire for all orchestras, were written first of all for Boston Symphony. And so it has this incredible legacy and beautiful artistic tradition. And Tanglewood is, it's like, it sort of holds an ideal. I find it really heartening that this place is dedicated to music. It's such a beautiful environment, and to think that we have this gorgeous facility and this beautiful environment that is just dedicated to music. It's almost like I have to pinch myself.
And we're speaking with Lorna McGhee, who's the principal flutist? How do you say it?
It depends where you're from. In Britain, they would say flautist. In America, they say flutist. My husband calls me fluter.
I'm going with fluter from now on.
Oh, I know.
When the principal flute of the BSO says fluter it is.
That's our partner. You don't need any more ammunition.
But the chair that you now occupy is an historic chair for the BSO. The people that you have followed behind have broken gender barriers, etc. for the BSO.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about that backstory if people don't know it, and how you feel taking on that mantle.
I feel honored to take on that mantle. Dorio Anthony Dwyer was an incredible flute player, a principal flute in the Boston Symphony in the 1960s. One of the first female, first women ever to women orchestra members, but also one of the very first female principal players. So she was a real trailblazer, and of course, Elizabeth Rowe is a great role model, and also a great advocate for women as well. So I'm honored to be following in their footsteps in the orchestra.
It's a wonderful thing to play the classic pieces that everybody knows, but it's also a really interesting experience to be able to work with composers that are living, that are current, that are with you. What's it like doing a piece like this, or like other pieces that have been commissioned for the BSO, and have the people who made that music there to work with you on the piece?
I really love that aspect of being a musician, and it's really exciting to get to work. I've played this for Carlos several times now, and I really enjoy every time I get to collaborate with him. We recently played one of his quintets as well with the Boston Chamber Players, which was a lot of fun. what I appreciate about being able to work with living composers is that you really feel like this is a living art form, and it's so exciting to see the creations. I'm in awe of composers actually, because how they have these beautiful ideas and they have the skill to write them down and convey them. You think of Mahler, how did he have these great symphonies in his head and then have the skill to put that down on paper for future generations. So I'm kind of in awe of composers. And I really believe what we do is not, it's not a museum. It's a living continuum, and it's really important. Like this connection with composers is really important. And it's just exciting to hear what people are writing, in our time.
And that piece that we heard the principal flute, Lorna McGhee, play is by the BSO composer chair, Carlos Simon. And it was so intricate, and as Khalees was mentioning, so many 16th notes, so many trills, using the flute very percussively in different ways. Is that something that you have experienced before in a solo flute piece like that?
No, it took me a while to get coordinated.
Because it does sound unlike most things that you would typically hear from maybe the BSO. Even the name, Move It, it's not like toccata and fugue in D minor. You know what I mean? It's a very contemporary sounding name.
Yeah, it's almost like it takes that, that percussive thing. It's almost like it takes that from beatboxing.
Yeah,
a little
really
bit.
does.
And so it's these percussive attacks, in the articulation where he doesn't want actual pitch. It's just that kind of blast, that percussive hit. So it's great. I mean, that's a kind of extended technique, but I think it's it comes from beatboxing. And it's nice to incorporate that into,
for sure.
And just to kind of expands the expressive range of the instrument.
Yeah, and it allows the breath to be part of like the tonality of the instrument too, which I think is really fascinating.
And then that kind of essence of frustration, you're just wanting to get out and move. It's just, and then when you overblow the harmonics at the beginning, those kind of shrieks, it's like,
Yeah,
that
I
kind
love
of
that.
feeling.
We had to talk to our engineer Bart to make sure that the shrieks wouldn't, peak out our
Break
sound
the
system
microphone.
here. Yeah, exactly. Not something you think is going to happen when you're at Tanglewood, but that is where we are. And
Or with the flute.
Yeah, with the flute, yes, Tanglewood on Parade. Yeah. Well, how did you fall in love with the flute, Lorna McGhee?
Oh, well, that's an easy question. James Galway is responsible for a lot of people starting the flute. When I was growing up, he had just left the Berlin Philharmonic and he was sort of starting his crossover career, and he was appearing in all the TV chat shows in Britain, so, and he was such a inspiration, and there was always so much life in the way I shouldn't, not in the past tense. I mean, he's not playing so much now, but he's still teaching, and so anyway, we all owe a great debt of gratitude to him. I know one of my colleagues in the London Symphony was in the same boat. Principal flute there started because of the same reason, hearing James Galway on the television as a kid.
That's amazing.
So these figures are, they probably don't realize how big their contribution is. Yeah.
Lorna McGhee, it's been a delight getting to hear you perform here on one of the beautiful buildings in the campus at Tanglewood here for Tanglewood on Parade, which is happening right now as you're listening to this, and we'll go on to this evening, and we'll end with the 1812 Overture and fireworks and so many different performances all over the campus at Tanglewood. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
Really
our
enjoyed
pleasure.
this.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 from Tanglewood on 88.5 NEPM. John Thomas.
Eat a nectarine is the best fruit ever.
I love it.
I hope you were recording that.
I
You're
don't
gonna
know
use
if
that
you
as a
can get
mantra.
them. Nobody grows them here, really.
You
I
know,
guess Clarkdale does.
I
Do they?
only say it because
they
a
do.
friend of mine was in radio, and we did a children's program together called Rocket Radio, exploring the space between your ears, and I did a music segment on it. She was just a neighbor, and she said, "Can you come do a music segment?" And she says, every time I sit down at the microphone, I say, "Eat a nectarine, it's the best fruit ever." I went, "Okay."
That can be our new sound check.
right.
Yeah, what did you have for breakfast this morning? Yeah, I like that question, though.
I mean, that's
Eat a nectarine, it's the best fruit ever. It probably hits all of the syllabus.
just
that,
about,
you know.
yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
And
maybe.
I'm for
There's no
that because
peas in it.
I never
Oh, yeah.
know what to say when we're doing mic checks. I'm just sort of like, hi,
Right.
what do you want?
You know my new one, which is I have a Polish sound man, and I have a check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. The maestro already hates me.
Actually, well, that's right. Looks like we're out of time.
Yeah, right. It's the Fabulous 413 here at Tanglewood on Parade in Lenox, and with us now is the maestro, Thomas Wilkins.
Thomas Wilkins is the Boston Symphony Orchestra artistic partner for education and community engagement, as well as the youth and family concerts conductor since 2011. Other current posts include principal conductor of the Hollywood Bowl Orchestra, principal guest conductor of the Virginia Symphony, and Indiana University's Henry A. Upper Chair of Orchestral Conducting.
In 2018, Thomas Wilkins received the Leonard Bernstein Lifetime Achievement Award for the elevation of music in society from the Longy School of Music, which was swiftly followed by many other accolades: the Virginia Symphony's Dreamers Award in 2019, an honorary doctorate of arts from the Boston Conservatory, and he was the recipient of the League of American Orchestra's Gold Baton Award, which we learned last year when we had you on, you actually aren't able to conduct with because it's part of, a statue or something.
It weighs too much.
It weighs too much.
Yeah.
During Wilkins' conducting career, he has led orchestras throughout the United States, including the New York Philharmonic, the Chicago Symphony, the Los Angeles Philharmonic, the Philadelphia Orchestra, the Cleveland Orchestra, the Cincinnati Symphony, the Minnesota Orchestra, and the National Symphony Orchestra.
Okay.
To name a few. That list is longer, folks.
Yeah.
And today for Tanglewood on Parade, he'll be conducting William Schumann's New England Triptych with an updated third section.
Movement, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
the Chester movement.
Yes.
Talk about that first. Like, what needed to be updated? What brings it more into the present with changes to that third movement?
Okay, first of all, before I answer that question,
Okay.
I got to tell you, I've been driving around the Berkshires for the last 2 weeks listening to radio, and I heard your show, and I thought, why do I know those two voices? Because it didn't register to me what the name of the show was when I was a guest on it. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, who are those people? And just now when you said the Fabulous 413, I went, aha!
We are honored that you've been listening to us.
Thank you for
I re-listened
listening
to our
us.
interview with you on the drive to Tanglewood this morning.
Oh my goodness
So,
gracious.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
But that was fun. That was fun.
That's an honor.
So anyway, it's actually when when Schumann wrote it, he wrote this version, but it only appeared in the version for band. And so there's a famous recording. In fact, it's on YouTube of the United States Marine Corps band playing it. However, Wilson Ochoa, who is our principal librarian, who is an incredible orchestrator, decided to go back to that original version and then play with it. And so there are things that are, and this is typical Wilson, there are things that are Schumann-esque and Chester-esque in this piece that's not actually on the original page, but he sticks it in a place because he thinks, oh, that's a nice spot to put this smoothly and organically. So in fact, when I was learning it, I thought, oh, well, that makes complete sense because this music in some form appears someplace else. And so what we end up getting is not a 3-minute just dismissive end of a piece. We get a piece that actually explores the whole notion of this of Chester as a larger work.
Which is cool because it got converted to band from the orchestral arrangement almost immediately, and Chester was the first piece that moved to band.
Well, yeah. In fact, we called it. In fact, there was a Chester Overture that we all grew up playing in band, and then somehow when it got back to this triptych, it just came out shorter. And I mean, the beginning is exactly. No, that's not true. The beginning is exactly the same, but rather than move on to the actual march part of the Chester, there is a brass chorale that actually sort of repeats from what the woodwind chorale opens. It's stunning music.
How common is this to bring something back to life or to adapt these works that people know so well and bring new life into them? I think, some people may think you should never touch these finished works and they are as they stand. But
Yeah, the good part is that usually the composer is dead, so you're not going to get any pushback on that side.
But do they touch them when the composer's dead, or would they never attempt something?
Well,
like that?
I think composers would be jazzed by the fact that someone was so turned on by their music that they decided to add another voice to it. You know, it's certainly not uncommon for a composer to be living and for either the artist that they wrote it for or the orchestra that's playing it, for them to say, why don't you do this here and do this here and do this here, you know. I did some changes to a piece by Hannibal Okumbe when we were getting ready to record it, and I looked up at him to say if it was okay, and he just sort of shrugged his shoulders. And so I pulled him aside later and said, what's up with the shrugging of the shoulders? And he says, listen, I was pregnant with this piece, I gave birth to this piece, and now it's your baby.
Wow.
And so I think composers are honored by that. And I think if there's something that's, to a living composer, if there's something that's really, this is not what my intentions were, they would speak up. But then going forward, it's always nice to have a nice spin on something that we've heard before. It gives it new life.
And we're here at Tanglewood on Parade with the maestro Thomas Wilkins, who, as part of Tanglewood on Parade, will be conducting a new version of William Schumann's New England Triptych.
I mean, I feel like I want to talk about the significance of this piece, but I'm curious how it fits with the conducting that you do for younger audiences. Something of this nature that seems that is American built, that is very American sounding. Like how, if this were a part of one of your younger concerts, how would that go about?
Well, I don't want to give this away, but my next season's family concert is about American music. Is what makes American music, and it's called Something Borrowed and Something True. And it's I'm not a big fan of labels, and so even in this program that has a big label, we're going to talk about the fact that if we restrict ourselves to what we think falls under the category of a label, then we end up restricting ourselves to a more spread out appetite, a diet rather. You know, it's like going to a buffet and saying, I'm only going to have this. I'd rather go, I'm going to have a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of that, and all of that creates the meal. And that's kind of American music. It's sometimes it's funk, sometimes it's jazz, sometimes it's poetic, sometimes it's ethereal, sometimes it's religious. It's all kinds of things, and everything's. So I don't want to speak in great generalities or hyperbole, but everybody listens to everybody, and almost everything informs everything else. So it's that's kind of what American music is, and so I haven't programmed it yet, but
I mean, it already sounds exciting.
Yeah, you've got the vision.
Yeah.
Thomas Wilkins, we did mention, and I have to ask, that you are the principal conductor of the Hollywood Bowl Orchestra.
Yep.
Were you there when Cynthia Erivo played Jesus Christ during Jesus Christ Superstar over this past weekend?
I was not. I was here. Listening.
Tanglewood is a great place to be,
I was listening to your show on the radio. Thank you very much.
See, and that's our
I saw so many clips of that, so I was so supremely jealous that I couldn't see that. I thought, well,
but
maybe Maestro Thomas Wilkins.
I've worked with Cynthia twice, and
Wow.
she's a consummate artist.
Oh my word!
And you know, she knows what she wants. But we, you know, talk about doing stuff on the fly. We've enjoyed our time together for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we did a Henry Mancini show last year to celebrate the 100th anniversary, and she sang on that show as well. And yeah, she's pretty special.
Speaking of time together, you've been at Tanglewood since 2011, and like those concerts have got to have had some evolution of your time here. How has your time at Tanglewood evolved in these past 14 years?
You know, it's interesting because I kind of I'm in LA. I'm known as Mr. Versatility. You know, I enjoy Tchaikovsky as much as I enjoy Duke Ellington, and I can have the same kind of fun in both worlds. And I think one of the things that I've enjoyed most about my association with this orchestra is that we've taken advantage of that fact, of that versatility. That I'm, you know, equally comfortable in the slow movement of New England Triptychs tomorrow, the When Jesus Wept, which is poignant and personal and sorrowful, as I would have been, you know, doing you know, our family concerts, you know, a couple weeks ago, which had Morton Gould on it, you know. So that's for me. I think that's probably the thing that I've enjoyed most, is that I get to do all kinds of things here, because I enjoy doing all kinds of things.
I would direct listeners to the Fabulous 413 podcast that you were on last, I believe, July, where we talked about how diverse your tastes are, in the sense that you're good friends with the Wooten brothers and Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers, working with Cynthia Erivo, and then conducting Schumann here at Tanglewood on Parade. So you're a fascinating figure. And before we let you go, you will be conducting the Boston premiere of Carlos Simon's Good News Mass in this next season. We heard a Carlos Simon piece already. Tell us about what you're excited about conducting that with the BSO.
Carlos is an old soul. I did a piece of his. In fact, I think we did it. I just did it here. I did it with New York Phil last year. 4 Black American dances, and in the one of the dances is a waltz that sort of harkens back to the cotillion days, when finally there was a black middle class, and you could actually have a cotillion for these young women. But the thing about the dance was that it sounds as if it was written by someone who actually lived during that time period. And, talk about being a listener and curious and a consumer of all kinds of music. It's clear that Carlos has consumed and absorbed, is even a better word, all of the musical vernacular of his early years growing up in the church. And growing up in the black community. And it finds its way in his music in ways that are not pretentious or academic. They're just spiritual. And so when I knew that we were going to do the Good News Mass here, in fact, Carlos and I were talking about it when he was writing it, I said, I want my hands on that piece. I want that piece. And so, I said, when we were talking about programming here, I looked at our staff here and said, does Andres want that piece? And he said, I don't think so. I said, I want it. So, that's gonna be a kick.
I mean, it's extra exciting for me because the Mass is literally one of my favorite music forms. I love it. So anytime somebody's coming up with a new one, taking those standard 5 to 6 pieces and putting their spin on it, it's always interesting. Always interesting.
And you'll be able to hear the Boston premiere of Carlos Simon's Good News Mass with the baton. He's going to break off the golden baton.
No, he's not.
From the maestro Thomas Wilkins, who's been joining us here from Tanglewood on Parade. Thank you so much for being back on the show.
Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how jazzed I am that I finally have figured it out.
You can come on anytime.
Literally anytime.
And you and Thomas Wilkins, the maestro, are listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM. It's the Fabulous 413 in the Berkshires for Tanglewood on Parade, speaking with some of the amazing folks that are making this event happen here on the Lenox-Stockbridge line.
We now get to speak with our second maestro, conductor Nazir McFadden. American conductor Nazir McFadden is recognized for his ability to engage audiences through dynamic and expressive performances that honor tradition while embracing fresh perspectives.
Born in Philly, Nazir began his musical training as a clarinetist at the age of 9 and started conducting while still at school. He studied conducting with Paul Bryan of the Curtis Institute of Music and later DePaul University with Cliff Colnott. In 2020, he became the Robert L. Poster Conducting Apprentice of the New York Youth Symphony and was also appointed the inaugural apprentice conductor of the Philadelphia Ballet, with whom he maintains a close relationship.
Last summer, Nazir was one of 2 Tanglewood Music Center Fellows chosen to conduct both orchestra and smaller ensembles. At just 25 years old, he has held esteemed positions with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra and the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra and has had debuts with the Boston Symphony Orchestra, Dresdner, German's hard, Philharmonie, the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, Utah Symphony Orchestra, and many more.
And tonight, for Tanglewood on Parade, he'll be conducting the legendary piece by Aaron Copland, Lincoln's Portrait, with none other than the acclaimed historian Heather Cox Richardson as the narrator. Welcome to the Fabulous 413, Nazir.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It's nice to see younger conductors because they bring different energy and they haven't been beaten by the system yet. That's not the way that I mean to put that, but like there is something to youthful energy on a podium in front of an orchestra that's really infectious, and I love seeing that. So thank you for joining us.
Of course.
You have already rehearsed this Lincoln Portrait with Heather Cox Richardson. Have you ever conducted this piece before?
This is actually my first time conducting the piece, and I've known the work for a very long time. And of course, Aaron Copland is one of the great American composers. And this Lincoln Portrait is the piece that, as a conductor, you really look forward to conducting, because it's, especially as an American conductor, because it's a true testament to, this great country and the work that has been done and still needs to be done for the future. But it's a reflection upon the work.
Well, it's lost on the listening audience, but as a Black American conductor, and this portrait of Lincoln, does it hit differently for you, do you think, as a Black American conductor?
It can, but for me, I think my Blackness is something that I think I've come to terms with for a long time, and I know that I'm Black. Audiences know that I'm Black when I step onto the podium. Instead of thinking about that, I like to think about who I am as an American and what it means to be an American, because my Blackness is just although it's a significant part of my story in this country, I'm still so many other things. And I like to think about, the work that I'm doing, whether it's in the community, within education, the music that I'm making first, and then my Blackness just comes along with that.
That said, you've worked with Detroit Symphony Orchestra, who are incredibly innovative in reaching out to especially Black community, because Detroit, and really innovative programming too. They do a lot of contemporary work. They do a lot of pieces by composers of color. How has that experience there influenced any of your work with this piece for the BSO?
So my main position with the Detroit Symphony was the assistant conductor, but also a very cool part of my job was also to be the Philip and Lauren Fisher Community Ambassador. And that meant that I got to collaborate with artists in music, outside of music. I got to collaborate with legislators, with teachers, with many students. And it really shaped my idea of what a conductor should be, what a leader should be in overall as a musician. So when I think about this piece and I think about the greatness of America, and even though we have a lot of work to do, I think that there are so many disciplines and so many genres of art, genres of music, and the fact that we're able to collaborate a full symphonic orchestra and a brilliant historian and commentator, and we get to make something and reimagine something that has been done before, but in a very unique way. If there was ever a time to perform this piece with a pre-professional orchestra, who is amazing, by the way, should I add, in this country, at Tanglewood, this is the moment, and I am so honored to be conducting it.
We're speaking with Maestro Nazir McFadden, who will conduct the piece Lincoln Portrait, Aaron Copland's legendary piece, with narration by the historian Heather Cox Richardson as part of Tanglewood on parade today. Last summer, though, Nazir, you were one of Tanglewood's two Tanglewood Music Center fellows, and that relationship has continued. Talk about being welcomed in as a fellow last year and then being asked to continue to participate in that way.
Twice.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is actually my third season at Tanglewood. So yes, I was a fellow last season, but before that I was a part of the conducting seminar. And the seminar is to give young conductors who maybe weren't, quite ready to be a fellow, just a little bit of a taste of what Tanglewood could be about. Mm-hmm. And those 10 days really, really inspired me, and I knew that I had to apply to come back to be a fellow. So I was invited as a fellow, and that was a very transformative summer. I walked in, feeling really confident and knowing that I had things to work on. And at the end of the summer, I thought, well, I still feel confident, and I know I have a lot of things to work on, but I'm so excited for this journey. Every second that I'm able to make music, I'm constantly learning about myself, about the music, about the orchestra. And how privileged was it to be surrounded by so much music. And all of the other fellows, we're all here for the same reason. And Tanglewood is a very special place because, there are not many places in the world where you can go and everyone is here for the exact same purpose, whether it's listening, learning, observing, or making music. We're all here to be connected with one another. And then to come back this season as a guest artist to lead, two fantastic ensembles. It makes me excited about the future, but also it makes me ever more excited about the present and the stories that we can tell today.
Heather Cox Richardson emails me every day. What is your relationship to Heather Cox Richardson before she has become the narrator for the Lincoln portrait that you'll do at Tanglewood on Parade?
I was familiar with her work, and I mean, she has such interesting and insightful things to say about the state of the country, about history, and also what the future can look like. So I've always been a fan. And when we worked together in rehearsal for the first time, I thought, this is the person that I've been listening to. Oh my goodness. And to hear her recite the words of Lincoln right next to me, if I had to think of a word to describe that feeling, I don't know that one word exists. Being on the podium as a conductor, you not only hear the sound and you're shaping the sound, but you feel the energy. And that's already a very powerful thing. Now to add Heather Cox Richardson, her voice, and also the words of Abraham Lincoln, it's not something I can describe. It's a feeling, and I'm so excited, and I can't wait to share that feeling with our audience members later today.
It's exciting. It's part of Tanglewood on Parade. It is Lincoln Portrait that will be conducted by Nazir McFadden. I'll also direct your attention to the New York Times, where there's an excellent interview with Heather Cox Richardson about this opportunity and about the many other narrators, presidents and vice presidents and actors all across the gamut who have been the narrator for this in the past.
I keep asking about things that aren't happening this evening, and I'm so sorry. But it's so neat that you have so much to talk about in so short a period of time. How does your work at the ballet inform how you conduct the BSO?
So I had this amazing opportunity to conduct the BSO in November as part of the fellowship, and there was an article that came out, and it said, when you drive a Ferrari, there's no going back. And while that may be true, being here and being able to work with ensembles across the different spectrums of their musical journey, students and pre-professionals, and then of course the BSO, it really, really allows me to reflect upon my own journey as well. And not so long ago, I was just a student. Last year, I was just a fellow. And I guess now I'm a professional.
Well, you were just announced as the assistant conductor at the Jacksonville Symphony, right? So that's a permanent position, right?
Yes, and while I have been working professionally for the past 5 or 6 years, I always felt as if I was a student, but I guess that feeling never leaves.
Yeah.
We're in a constant state of practice, and you can never fail when you're in a constant state of practice, and that's how I like to think about things. So it doesn't matter the ensemble that I'm in front of. I look at it as an opportunity to perfect my craft and to bring people along with the journey that I'm communicating through my hands with the musicians.
Well, we had Thomas Wilkins on earlier today, but we also had him on a year ago, and he said, the maestro, that remaining curious and trying to find new things to learn every day is what keeps people excited. So it seems like you are always a student, even if you've been doing it as long as Thomas Wilkins has. So you're on the right track, I think.
The moment you stop being curious is probably the moment you should stop
die.
doing the job.
Yeah, right.
When you stop being curious, you die.
Yeah.
You have to remain curious, because when you stop being curious, your mind closes off and you stop being able to see the world in color. I had a question about clarinet.
It's been some time since I've played the clarinet. But hopefully I can remember.
Your primary instrument
Yes.
still. Are there things that you learned in the playing that are useful to you when you're suddenly in charge of way more instruments?
I'm going to answer your question, but I'm not necessarily in charge.
Okay.
And I think that's the common misconception with
Right.
conductors. I think we're there to inspire. Every one of those musicians, regardless of the ensemble, is at a certain level, and they've worked so hard to get there. And I guess what playing the clarinet for so long in ensembles has taught me is that everyone is capable, and everyone has their own unique perspective for music making. And as a conductor, understanding that helps me in my communication when I have to speak to the orchestra. Yes, I am in charge of the general idea, but what makes music making in the orchestra so special is that there's a general idea, but every individual has an opportunity, even section players. They have the opportunity to let their voice be heard, to shine. Whether it's the way that they move on stage, the communication through the eyes with their fellow colleagues, or the way that they look at me, and that makes me go even harder. Everyone has or a solo, everyone has the opportunity to shine, even though we're all achieving, one goal. And maybe that's what's so special about this performance tonight, and especially with the Lincoln Portrait, is that we're all a part of the United States of America, but we have different backgrounds, we have different interests, and different ideas of maybe how the country should be run or things that should take place here, but we all want the same thing at the end of the day.
Or at least we'd like to think so.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. Nazir McFadden, it's been a delight talking with you. Do you say good luck? Do you say break a leg to a conductor?
Toy, toy, toy.
Toy, toy, toy.
Yeah.
To the conductor of the Lincoln Portrait with narrator Heather Cox Richardson, the acclaimed historian and frequent emailer of me and many others. It's not to be missed, and it's still happening this evening at Tanglewood on Parade here at Tanglewood in Lenox. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, our pleasure.
It's the Fabulous 413 at Tanglewood for the spectacular that is Tanglewood on Parade today. And with us now is the person who tunes everyone on stage, concertmaster Nathan Cole.
Violinist Nathan Cole is just concluding his first season as BSO at the BSO as concertmaster. Prior to this position, he was a member of the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra and the Chicago Symphony. He's appeared as guest concertmaster with the orchestras of Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Houston, Ottawa, Seattle, and Portland, Oregon, and was first associate concertmaster for the LA Philharmonic.
Cole grew up in a musical family in Lexington, Kentucky. His parents, both fluters, as we're calling them now, taught lessons in the home, while his grandfather told stories about his years in the Philadelphia Orchestra under Eugene Ormandy. Cole made his debut with the Louisville Orchestra at the age of 10, and since then he continued to study music and develop ensembles, including the Grancino Quartet, which he formed at Curtis Institute of Music.
As an educator himself, Cole leads the orchestral repertoire program for violin at Colburn Conservatory, while his innovative online programs allow him to work with thousands of players around the globe.
The concertmaster, Nathan Cole, will perform for us here right now a movement from Preludia in E major from Bach's Partita. Take it away, concertmaster. the concertmaster for the BSO here at Tanglewood on Parade, violinist Nathan Cole. That was spectacular. We're really lucky.
I know, right?
We have two of the most incredible musicians in the world on the show today.
I know, and it has me thinking about Bach in very interesting ways.
Yeah. Well, welcome back to the show.
No.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I had to do it at least one time. Nathan Cole. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I always think of the concertmaster in its relationship to the conductor kind of like the manager of a team, and you're kind of like the team captain. Like you're a player, and you're, apart from just tuning the orchestra up, you're sort of the ambassador of the orchestra. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to think about it. Definitely not any kind of coach or manager, which, as you said, that's more the conductor, because the concertmaster is really just another member of the orchestra, another member of the violin section, but tasked with interfacing, if that's a word, interfacing with the conductor and other principals in the orchestra.
What instrument did your grandfather play? Because your parents are both flautists.
Yes, so he was also a flutist, and he was their teacher in college. That's really how they met. And so he was the one in the Philadelphia Orchestra, and he went to the same school I did as well, the Curtis Institute of Music.
Did you get a lot of your family going, but maybe the flute, when you picked up the violin?
Yeah, was it your way of rebelling against your parents? I'm going to play violin.
In a way, it was their way of rebelling against where we found ourselves as a family. Where I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, and in other parts of the Midwest and South, marching band is such a huge deal. Football is king, and although basketball is king in Kentucky. But so many marching bands around, they absolutely did not want me to take part in any marching bands, because they had students whose flute aspirations were basically ruined by long days and nights in the field. So they wanted me to play something where I would never have to march.
As somebody who's in the marching band in New England, I agree with your parents' decision there. It can be grueling. I'm curious about the whole position of concertmaster historically, though. Why is it always the first violin? Why couldn't it be some other member of the orchestra?
I can't pretend to know all the answers for that, but violins have pretty much always been seated toward the front of the orchestra, although at different times, different conductors would mess around with that. But the first chair violin was therefore just one of the easiest people to see. Mm-hmm. And unlike cello, let's say, or double bass, all the action takes place high up. And so actually before there were conductors, it was the first chair violinist who actually took that duty on as well. And then once scores generally became more complex and needed more organization, you brought in the full-time conductor, and the concertmaster stepped down to just playing violin.
You've come into a season where there's at least one other new principal coming into the BSO. How has that transition been with so many new folks being in charge of the various sections of this orchestra?
Well, it's an exciting time. When you're a new face, it's an opportunity to, you can reinvent yourself if you really want to. Since I'm new, everybody's new to me. So in a way, I notice it less when there are other new players, whether they're principals or other members of the orchestra. But it's great to have, I think, a new string principal. Well, we'll have two, because we have a principal bass coming in, and new woodwind principals as well, such as Lorna. It's always fun when we come from other places. You know, I bring my experience from Chicago and Los Angeles, and Lorna comes from Pittsburgh and the other orchestras that she's played in. You get to see other people's leadership styles and also enjoy their musical styles as well.
We're speaking with the BSO's concertmaster and the first violinist, Nathan Cole, who's here at Tanglewood for Tanglewood on Parade.
I'm also curious, just in general, how different the BSO feels from LA and being here at Tanglewood. I was going to say besides the fires, but last year the state was on fire also, so that wasn't
a
that
very
different.
Personal thing to you as well, right?
That's true, although luckily our house and our immediate neighbors were fine. Our children went to school up in Altadena, and their school was completely burned tough time, much tougher for some other folks than for us. But yeah, I remember that very well, just half a year ago. I would say, I mean, the by far the biggest difference in the summer season is the fact that, we have Tanglewood here and no other orchestra has a home like this. Of it, just the natural beauty is astounding, not only here on campus, if you want to call it that, but also where we all live in the surrounding areas. The summer season in Los Angeles takes place at the Hollywood Bowl, also iconic, but you're not driving through 5 or 10 minutes of trees to get to the Hollywood Bowl. It's an hour of freeway.
Of traffic,
yeah. And also the shed here at Tanglewood is built for an orchestra to hear ourselves, to hear each other, and for the audience to enjoy us in that space. The Hollywood Bowl is meant for all kinds of other performances, and so when the orchestra would play there, each string player, for example, had our own microphone clamped to the instrument.
Oh, wow.
And I'm happy to be freed from that that appendage here at Tanglewood.
You mentioned the Hollywood Bowl, and I did ask Maestro Thomas Wilkins about this. You weren't there either for Jesus Christ Superstar with Cynthia Erivo this weekend, were you?
No, I've been hearing and reading all about it.
Me too. So I was just checking. Figured I have to check.
He's trying very hard to live vicariously through somebody else.
Yeah, and going back to the role of concertmaster, what's something that might surprise people about one of your responsibilities in that role?
Well, there's a lot more personal reading of energy, give and take, maybe than some people might imagine. A lot of people know about the symbolic sort of standing up to tune, although it's actually, it's the oboe who gives the A. So I can say I'm standing up to tune, but I'm not really doing much except giving a signal. And a lot of folks know also about helping to organize bowings, right? When our bows go up and down, and all of that is true. But what happens in a performance if I sense that the cellos are moving ahead slightly, depending on who is principal there, do I know that they're going to instantly sense that we're drifting apart a little bit? Are they going to be looking over at me? Or is it the kind of thing where I need to just go ahead in this situation and yield, right away, sort of, because they have the tune. And I have to, with the first violins, hand it off to the seconds. And how do we make that transition? And then how does all of that gel with what the conductor may be showing? When do you just listen and go with each other? When do you look up and say, nope, we've all got to snap to where the conductor is right at this moment? So it's those kind of decisions, I think, that those who haven't played in orchestras might not think about.
Education is a passion of yours, and Tanglewood, in addition to being the BSO summer home, is a place of learning. And I know it's your first year here, but are you looking forward to ways that you can mesh those two together during your time in the Berkshires?
Absolutely, and I've been lucky enough to already take part in the Tanglewood Music Center program here. I'm one of the violin mentors, along with some other members of my section. And so it's been great. I've had the privilege of sort of guest teaching with all of my colleagues there. So I get to work with, I think, every violin fellow here at least once, as well as I gave a public class a couple of weeks ago. This is such an exciting time in their lives. Well, it's still an exciting time in my life, but for the fellows, I can think back to when I was their age, and first actually spending time around major professional orchestras, because it's a lot different than just, of course, practicing scales or practicing audition material. You actually get to be around an orchestra and see the day-to-day and see that it's not all fun and games. It's a job too, and that's important to see, and to see professional orchestra members as human beings too. I remember when I first learned that somebody didn't like one of the pieces they were playing. I was astounded. I was like, wow, you're in this great orchestra and you don't like this piece. That's, wow, this guy has an opinion. He's a human being.
And then you, as the concertmaster, have to smooth out the waters between that person and the conductor. No, but you, Nathan Cole, what are you excited about playing at Tanglewood on Parade today?
Well, I always look forward to, this will be my first chance to experience the side-by-side piece, which is Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture. And that's where my stand partner will be a violin fellow. And again, I think back to when I did this, this was with the Cleveland Orchestra, a similar sort of experience. And it just meant the world to me to be in the orchestra playing. And it's a fantastic piece. I mean, we always think of the end with the cannons.
Of course.
In Los Angeles, it's always with fireworks at the Hollywood Bowl. So they don't do fireworks.
No,
here,
they're
right?
doing fireworks.
Oh,
Fireworks are going to be here as part of it tonight.
All right. So that's just to make me feel at home, I think. So that's what I'm looking forward to, the chance to working with the fellows.
You have a chamber ensemble and have worked with orchestras. How do you feel about the difference between like the smaller ensemble and the work that you get to do there and larger ensembles like the BSO?
Well, I'm certainly glad that I had the quartet and other small ensemble experience that I had. That was really where my passion was when I was in school. And the skills that you, both personal and musical, that you learn in those situations really shape you for the rest of your life. We were talking before about give and take. And how do you rehearse a piece when there is no conductor, when everybody's responsible for bringing their ideas to the table? And, how much does it hurt when your idea gets shot down? You propose something, everybody tries it, and they're like, I don't think that works. You learn to move on, or maybe you don't compromise. Maybe you bring it back the next day too and say, you know what, I really feel like this, we got to make this work. Personally, dealing with the same colleagues day after day in a quartet, it's often been described like a marriage. In an orchestra, you don't spend as much concentrated time with each member, obviously, but your colleagues, in most cases, for decades. And you have to learn what that's going to mean. Every day might not be the honeymoon with every one of your colleagues, but you make music together over the long haul. And an orchestra ideally is just a giant chamber ensemble where everybody's listening and reacting.
Well, luckily the BSO has a good therapist in their concertmaster for this first year there to help smooth out all of those things. I'm using too many analogies, but I like the team captain. I also kind of like the therapist. And this is Nathan Cole's first year in that role with the BSO as concertmaster and first violinist here at Tanglewood for Tanglewood on Parade. Thank you so much for being with us today and for performing for us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Also, I really love the podcast you had with your wife. I hope it comes back.
Oh, I do too. I know we with the big move and everything, we got away from this, and actually, I think we use these exact same microphones. So this is making my fingers are itching to make more episodes.
Well, yeah, if she's here, you can use our gear. Thanks again.
Thank you.
It's the fabulous 413 at Tanglewood for Tanglewood on Parade, and we're reminding you that not everyone on the grounds is a musician.
No, it takes many hands and many folks to make this particular village run.
And one of those folks helping to make sure that you have an enjoyable time when you're here at Tanglewood is Amy Aldrich.
Amy Aldrich is the Senior Director of Patron Experience, dealing with all of your cheers and jeers and engagement, and today making sure that the parade happens in a pleasurable way for everyone involved. And I think maybe specifically for the families involved and for kids. Amy, thanks for joining us here on the fabulous 413.
Thank you for having me.
You're a lifelong resident of the Berkshires here, right?
That is correct. Yes,
so
I am.
How does it feel working with this hallowed institution of the Berkshires?
Feels like home.
Yeah.
It really does. It is a magical place, and I have spent my entire career here, and I don't know how I would be able to be anywhere else because it literally just is my heart.
25 years with the BSO.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
Incredible.
That's the whole millennia so far.
That put a fine point on it.
What's it like for you here when it's not summer?
Well, I still do my job, but I do commute to Boston a couple days a week. But otherwise, I still come here in the winter when it's cold and snowy, and it's just as beautiful, but in a different way. There is something about this place that is magical. And I don't mean to sound cliche, but it really is. And it's a part of me. It's a part of my family. And I love being here and what the gift it can be to other people. I love what that means.
And part of what you have done is to highlight some of those perhaps non-musical aspects of Tanglewood, right? Like the birding has become a popular thing at Tanglewood, and I think you are largely responsible for that. Can you talk a little bit about using the grounds in those kind of ways?
Sure, yes. That was done in conjunction with my colleague, Mark Rulison. He's the TLI production manager, the Tanglewood Learning Institute. And we used to work with Mass Audubon Society many years ago. And then COVID hit and, we stepped away from it, but we wanted to bring it back because it's the perfect synchronicity of music and nature. And to be able to walk around the grounds and look at the trees and hear the birds and learn about all of the nature side of things while the orchestra is rehearsing in the background, it couldn't be more of a perfect setting for good for the soul kind of thing. It really is something that we, Tanglewood's for everyone, and we want to be able to welcome people in for whatever way that's comfortable for them.
I'm imagining you have to change key if there's a particular bird that's too close to the orchestra to try to...
Nope, that's their fault.
It is an outdoor music venue.
And we're speaking with Amy Aldrich, who's the Senior Director of Patron Experience here at Tanglewood for Tanglewood on Parade. Tell us about some of the fun family activities that people can experience today as part of this.
Well, I just received word that we are a go with our hot air balloon, which is coming in today for tethered rides, which meaning we're not, taking off into the skies, but we will allow people to go up and down. But it really is something fun that used to be a part of the Tanglewood experience many, many years ago. And so, that's something we wanted to bring back, and we did it last year, and it was so much fun. It was just really great to invite people in to do that. We also have a face painting artist who's coming in, who's wonderful. We have a magician. We have our lawn games. We have crafts for kids. We have a lot going on, an instrument playground. There's a lot happening because it's, again, making this a place where everyone's welcome and, meeting the needs of our littlest guests. That's one of my favorite things is that, my kids loved coming here when I was little, and I love seeing families and kids come in.
Wait a minute, back up. Talk about the instrument playground.
Yes. What instruments can we go now play with after the show's over?
Well, that is a sampling of instruments, which kids are, welcome to go and test out all the different instruments that we have.
Like what? So, what kind of instruments will be there for them to play around
there's
with?
Some drums, some trumpets, a tuba. There's, fiddles, violins, violas, the whole gamut. Really just a sampling of all the different instruments.
Because you never know which one you'll fall in love with unless you get a chance to play it.
That's
exactly
right.
And it's
That's
funny,
right.
We have talked to so many of the musicians here and getting the stories of them falling in love with their instrument and perhaps encountering an orchestra, bringing kids in for some fun activities, face painting and lawn games and things like that, and then giving them an opportunity to play an instrument and then seeing them play it at the highest level for Tanglewood on Parade is pretty spectacular.
Yeah, if we can be that first time, first place, the better it is, because we hear a lot of those stories where kids knew that they came here as kids and this is where they fell in love with music, and that's a wonderful thing.
How has it always started this early in the day, or has that changed over the course of your tenure here at Tanglewood?
It has always started. It's really just been an all day, afternoon, into the evening affair. There's just so much going on. You can hear chamber music, you can hear choral music, you can hear orchestral music, you can get a sampling of everything. And it's our Boston University Tanglewood Institute students, it's our TMC fellows, and then, the end cap of the night is our wonderful orchestra, and, that really is a very special thing.
And again, the 1812 orchestra and the fireworks and all.
Overture.
What did I say? Orchestra? Oh, yes. 1812 Overture. With an
The 1812 orchestra is just cannons. There's no other instruments. It's just cannons.
I would be part of that orchestra. That would be really fun. You, Amy, have also been involved in sort of the popular music series here as well. And there was a really interesting article from WBZ in Boston about finding the next generation of stars and bringing them to Tanglewood. And I know that Taylor Swift got mentioned in that, and when James Taylor brought Taylor Swift, who she's named after, to the stage here very early on in her career. How involved are you in the popular artist series that comes here?
Well, I am involved in the meetings. There's a lot that goes into planning those events, and again, we're just looking to expand the horizons with bringing people to this beautiful campus. We do have a number that we try to reach of how many we want to invite each year, and there's a lot of complexities with tour schedules and who we can bring in here, but it's always nice to be able to, have people come here, and even though they may not come to a classical show, they at least got here and maybe changed their mind about, I should come back here. This is a really cool place. Wow, I didn't know this existed here. So that's one of the great things about our Popular Artist Series, is that it welcomes people back.
We came to see John Baptiste for that, and I also destroyed my children in cornhole there. So I'm going to thank you, Amy, for having those games available for us to play.
And after a
happy to
lot of
hear that.
cajoling, I got to bring my partner for the first time to Nas.
Wonderful. That
so
was
mad I
so
didn't
much
go see
fun.
it.
That show
it
was
really,
fantastic. It was so cool.
They do. They provide a different experience in a different way, and it's wonderful to see that we're, having people come here and have a great time with an artist that they may not have ever thought would grace these grounds. So it's really a fun thing to do.
Amy Aldrich is the senior director of the patron experience here at Tanglewood and has been for 25 years associated with the BSO. We were told that you have to deal with patron feedback, including positive and negative stuff. What is your favorite positive comment about Tanglewood, and also your favorite or funniest complaint about Tanglewood? Or most
Preferably
frequent,
funniest.
Yeah.
Gonna be very
Gosh,
much
that's
like
a challenging question. I mean, I have so many wonderful favorite things that I hear, but I think ultimately challenging feedback, it's a gift. I take that as a gift because it helps us to do what we do better, and we can learn from it, and we can make changes and, make a difference in different ways that, will hopefully help people in the way that, they may not have had a good experience. So it's a balance. It really is. But there's a lot of funny stories. I think, gosh, there's just, every day is not boring. There's never a boring day. There's so many things that happen each day that you never would imagine, from protecting customers from bees' nests, or, dealing with someone who lost one shoe and, lost people. I mean, there's just so many things that, you're dealing with humans.
You do have a labyrinth here.
And
so
the
it's good
humanity
to-
of
you
that.
get
So
lost in
it's
it.
always an
Expansive
adventure.
grounds is
Yeah.
how we say it.
Yeah.
We know that your birding program has starting to come back from COVID. Tasting notes, which also was put on pause for a number of years.
Shameless plug of our friends Dare Bottle Shop and Provisions in Lenox. We're doing tasting notes on August 16th here at the grounds of Tanglewood.
Are there other programs that you've had to slowly restore since the pandemic, or before your tenure, that you've been bringing back slowly to the grounds?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. We just recently, this past weekend and the weekend prior, we brought back Concerts for Very Young People, which is an educational initiative that Leonard Bernstein actually started many years ago. And that was so fun. It was a great audience. We are doing some engagements with local community musical artists who are coming in. We had Eagles Band yesterday, and we have some more artists coming up the remainder of the season. But just fun things that we used to do that kind of fell by the wayside. Really just, different music. It's not the orchestra on stage. It's other ways that people can experience Tanglewood. And that really is something special. And there's a lot of ideas that we haven't put out there yet, but it's always a work in progress. But there's a lot of great stuff happening here.
And I feel like we made assumptions at the beginning of our talk with you, but do you actually play an instrument? It's okay if the answer is no.
I do not.
Okay, great.
I do
We were
not.
right.
I was young, and I did have piano lessons. My mother's a music teacher, but I love music. I love being surrounded by it. And I'm not a classically trained musician, but it is my heart here that I get to experience music in some way every day.
Well, there is a piano here if you want to if you want to show us your chops.
I think Heart and Soul would probably,
Well, good. I'll
be
do
the
one
max.
One or the other hand.
Or Jingle Bells.
Yes, and they're, tying it all together. There is birding here on the campus of Tanglewood, and you can listen to Freebird when Leonard Skinner comes at the end of the month. There's Bonnie Raitt. The Wait, Don't Tell Me, the NPR show is coming, which we came as a staff for a couple of years ago, which was excellent. So there's all sorts of fun stuff happening here at Tanglewood, including Tanglewood on Parade, and one of the folks that is responsible for making your experience happen has been joining us, Amy Aldrich. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me today.
Oh, our pleasure. Itching for more new music? Then on the next Fabulous 413, have we got a festival in store for you?
The Etchings Festival is a celebration of new works and newer conductors over 3 days at Bombyx in Florence. And we'll talk about the works you can see and more with John Aylward and Cassandra Holden.
Plus, we'll head to the middle of the four counties to check out the blueberries at Blue Heaven Blueberries in Middlefield.
Along with our weekly meander through the English language with word nerd Emily Brewster, senior editor at Merriam-Webster. I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Clee Smith. See you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.